Welcome back. Hope your experience of the security blanket journey was interesting, enlightening some level maybe. Discovering some language that you may use internally to yourself, or emotions that show up in those moments where you could be triggering your original deals. And remember, keep in mind from that journey, if you didn't already, that it's possible that there's a whole heap of personal ones that aren't listed in the book. So make sure you truly listen to that voice that's trying to keep you safe. Feel the emotions without attaching too much to them. If it gets too much, just shake them off and then move into the new space, which so we're going from journey number 5, security blankets, to journey number 6, away to safety, is wet blankets. Now, for those cultures that understand the term wet blankets, it's generally, the metaphor I use is, you imagine someone's got a great idea, a great concept, and it's like lighting a little fire and a little spark. Someone gets this wet blanket and just puts it on top and douses it out and says, nah, that wouldn't have worked anyway. Oh, we've tried that before, or that's not a good idea. In some people's language, they say it's like a fairly common language in the Western culture is a Debbie Downer, party pooper. That part of you that just speaks out loud and says, no, I don't want to do that. I'm not going there. Again, it's in support of your wet blanket and security blanket, which is in support of not breaking your original deal. So as we go through this piece, just keep in mind that we all have these external, remember, wet blankets external, security blankets internal. We all have these external ways of expressing ourselves that some we're conscious of it, frankly, some we're not. So maybe this will help us understand them a little better, bring them to awareness. So let's have a bit of a yarn about our wet blankets. The first wet blanket we have, not necessarily in order, just to make it easier to follow, is the words we use. The words we use when we are triggered into the fear of potentially breaking our original deal. Therefore, the security blankets internally turn up and the wet blankets then show up. The words are not necessarily exactly what the words are, but here's some examples. I think things like some people just go quiet, stop talking altogether. So no words. Some people use minimal language, monosyllabic or single word responses, even a grunt or an or an when they're threatened or feel like they're losing control, which is what our wet blankets are there to do, is to help us get control back or not break our deals. It can also turn up as language that is more technical or more to show how smart you are. Sometimes people start using bigger words, more complex words to show that they're clever. Other people, and I've had this many times, begin to cuss, use swear words. That is a way of keeping you safe and away from that which may harm you that's in front of you. Again, in the worksheets there's quite a few examples. I tend probably to get really specific with my language and concise, and for many of us will know what happens when others feel like this. We'll see it in them and we'll go, oh, here goes such and such again. They're not going to talk, or they've gone into their cave and they've only using single word responses. So do you know your own? Check in with what they are. Go to the worksheet, have a look. The next wet blanket is non-verbal communication. Again, stating the obvious, what happens on the outside, externally, but it's how we speak. Could be louder, softer, more timbre, more breaks, more staccato. Some people this is the non-verbal stutter. Some people the verbal stutter they get. The stutter turns up. There's a whole list of the non-verbal parts of our language which turn up. In communication and language, you'll find a whole lot of ways we tend to speak when we're threatened or excited. So which ones show up for you when you're threatened, when you feel scared? Go to the workbook, have a look, mark them off. keeping in mind there may be others you personally have. The third wet blanket that can show up is body language. And body language is very powerful. Powerful for ourselves and powerful for others. Under a threat response or fear of losing control, or going back to the words of the deep shift, fear of breaking our original deal and feeling the pain, our body language can show up in many ways. It can show up in closed body language, that's crossed arms, shoulders forward. It can show up in opening. It can show up in the way we breathe. It can show up in the micro movements we make with our arms or our legs. But whatever it is, it's the body language, which we quite often don't even notice. Others may. You'd be surprised how much others know about you. If you ask them, do you notice that I do this? Yeah, you do. Always in those threat situations. So what body language shows up for you when you're feeling like your original deal could be broken? And these could be not massive examples of it, just daily examples of fear and threat that show up. So combining the words we use, the non-verbal way we express them, and the body language together are a key part of the wet blankets that we show the world to keep us safe and protected. The next level, which you can probably combine with the last three, is what's called attitude and energy. For example, if you walked into a party and you looked across the room and you saw someone with very closed, negative energy versus someone at the other side of the room who's got open, inviting energy, which one are you more likely to go to? So what attitude and energy turns up for you when you are threatened, when you are seeking to escape something that could break your deals? Go to the worksheets, have a look, there's a whole list of them there. Mine, I can become very assertive. I hate to use the word aggressive, but occasionally strong in my attitude and energy to maintain control. The next wet blanket is dress and grooming. Quite a bizarre one, not a significant one for most, but certainly one that to consider. When you go into the world out the front door of your house, how do you dress and present yourself? Most people like a coat of armour, dress in and groom themselves in a way that gives them a sense of power, control, confidence, as best they can anyway. Others may dress in a way that they're not noticed, so they might dress in colours that are softer, blend in. Some people dress very loudly. Sometimes people think that's just to be seen. Frankly, sometimes it's not. It's actually to push people away from the brightness and the bigness of the people. So, like all wet blankets, they create distance between ourselves and others, specifically to keep us safe, in control, and at a distance from breaking any of our deals and exposing ourselves to the pain that we promised we never would. I'm going to break now for the rest of the wet blankets. I'm walking along the track and loving it. You probably see the sun in my back now. We're heading directly east towards an escarpment for tonight where we'll be sleeping. We're still a few kilometres away, but I will join you in a minute for the last 3 or 4 wet blankets. Thank you. Opportunistically, please go to the workbook and complete everything up to and including the dress and grooming piece. And I'll cover the last 3 when I come back. This is the longest journey, I think, of the entire book, so please bear with us. Thank you.